And welcome back to New York State of Sports here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all those sports, episode 16. Ricky Keeler back with you for another playoff post-game show. Game 2s for all three locals are in the books, and what a crazy 48 hours it's been. It started Monday with the Knicks pulling off one of the epic comebacks in recent memory for the franchise, while the Islanders pulled off one of the most epic collapses in the recent history of the franchise out in Carolina. We'll dive into both of those, and of course, Tuesday night, the Rangers take a 2-0 lead in their first-round series against the Capitals. They did it with full strength 5-on-5 in Game 1. They do it with the power play in Game 2. We'll talk about all those things and much more coming up next here on New York State of Sports. We'll see you in a minute. You know, I can't begin to think about when the last time New York sports has been this pumped up in April and May for the local sports scene. I mean, you think 1994, you don't want to go there right away, but the success at Madison Square Garden these last two nights has been nothing short of incredible. When you consider that what the Knicks did against Philadelphia, what the Rangers did against Washington, the crowds have been great. The fans have been great. The atmosphere has been awesome. And just so much to dive into here as the Knicks are up 2-0, the Rangers up 2-0, and the Islanders head to Long Island trying to find some own home magic of their own. Ricky Keeler back with you. I want to remind you can follow me on X at Rickinator555 or on Twitter at Rickinator555. Follow the show at NY State Sports IE. If you are liking these special post-game shows throughout the week, feel free to shoot me an email, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. Send me your thoughts during the games, questions I can read on air, anything you just want to talk about. I want to hear from you. And, of course, there's a supporters feature here on the show. It's $5 a month. If you want to just throw a couple dollars my way for appreciation, you want to see some special post-game shows or special episodes of the show, I would love to hear from you. So any contributions greatly appreciated. And I thank you guys, listeners, for tuning in. These shows are for you. We're excited to talk extra New York sports, and there's just so much we can get into in an hour live during the week. But I figure, hey, let's talk about some of these playoff games right after they happen to get some instant reaction. And I think they've been fun so far. We did one the other day with Mike Pat from the DMV show here. We've done a solo one. This is our third one that we're doing. We're going to try to do another one on Thursday night just because of the sports scene is just crazy with the Knicks Game 3 in Philadelphia, the Islanders Game 3 against the Carolina at UBS, and the Giants and Jets both picking the top 10 of the NFL draft. Finally got to do something exciting here in New York, so why not do two shows on Thursday? So we'll announce it at the end of the show again, but two shows. We'll do our regular live show, 2 p.m. Eastern Thursday. Previewing the draft, we'll do a mock draft. We'll talk Yankees, Mets, NYCFC, New York Red Bulls, all that stuff we normally do talk about, in addition to all these games. And then we will come back with a special show looking back at the night in New York sports. I think it's one of the more eventful nights that this town has had in a while because it involves a lot of the locals. I think the Yankees are playing as well Thursday against the A's. We won't really dive into that, though, on the night show. And the Mets are off after a West Coast trip. So that's what we got going on. So let's talk Rangers. Defeating the Washington Capitals 4-3. We're leading with the hockey. We'll go to the basketball a little bit later. 4-3 victory, a game in a series that hasn't been that surprising. I think the only shock you have from this game is the fact that the Capitals hung in there. They were getting off to blistering starts in the first period. They get the goal from Connor McMichael a little over 5 minutes in. Washington's dictating the pace of play. And that's not surprising because when you're up 1-0, that team that's trailing has a desperation to not go down 0-2. So McMichael gets the goal. Rangers come back a little more than 2.5 minutes later. Vincent Trocheck, who I think he's looked a lot more comfortable in year 2 with the blue shirts. It's a guy who had to acclimate himself last year. It takes athletes, especially in New York, a long time to get used to the media scrutiny and finding a home and all these different things. But Trocheck on that second line has been outstanding. He won the Stephen McDonald Award a few weeks ago. He gets the goal for the assist from Gustafsson to tie the game at 1. Then the Rangers get on the power play. And this year they've been a top 3 power play unit. Mika Zibanejad gets the goal from Trocheck and Lafreniere at 14:28. Gives the Rangers a 2-1 lead. That came off of the penalty by TJ Oshie, who was holding Artemi Panarin. Actually, Oshie had the penalty. Was Nicholas Aube-Kubel the hooking on Trocheck. We'll get to the whole Oshie Panarin stuff because I think that was the fun part about Game 2. You clearly see these teams do not like each other. It's not the same old rivalry as 10 years ago, but when you see a team as often as the Rangers and Capitals do, this is the 6th meeting counting the regular season. There's going to get some bad blood thrown there. So the Rangers feeling good. They're up 2-1 going in the second. Washington gets on the power play due to a Matt Rempe roughing penalty, which, look, Matt Rempe's been a great story. He's been fun to watch. He gets the goal on Sunday. His mom's in attendance. It's great. He's 6'8", tall guy. One of the enforcers on the team, if you will. But in a way, when you look at what Rempe's done so far, he does have the goal. But he's had penalties in each of the first 2 games. And the question I think you have to ask yourself if you're a Ranger fan, as great as Matt Rempe is and as fun as he is to watch, is it worth all the penalties? Yes, he provides energy to the team, energy to the crowd. He does all these great things. But can you afford that at this stage? I'm not so sure. Rangers have some good defensive depth, and I think Rempe on the 4th line, some good things. I'm not saying they should bench him, but something to think about. So the Capitals get to go on the power play. Dylan Strome delivers with a goal to tie it at 2. Tom Wilson and Max Pacioretty get the assist. All of a sudden, it's a different kind of game. Rangers then get back on the power play. John Carlson gets called for a cross-check. Leads to Jack Roslovic scoring his first playoff goal at the Rangers and his first playoff goal of his career. Power play from Gustafsson and Lafreniere gives the Rangers a 3-2 lead. Later, the Rangers are shorthanded due to a delay of game penalty on Gustafsson, and a great job by Mika Zibanejad to take the puck away from Alex Ovechkin right near their offensive zone. They do a little passing, and that leads to Keandre Miller getting the shorthanded goal from Zibanejad and Kreider. All of a sudden, it looks like the Rangers have found their form. They take a 4-2 lead. They were due for a shorthanded goal most of the night. They finally get it. But then you go to the third. And the third period, I thought, was controlled mainly by Washington. Now, that makes sense. They're the ones trying to chase the goals. Capitals outshot the Rangers 9-8 in the third period. Rangers had to block a lot of shots, particularly early in the third. You had Connor McMichael getting the roughing penalty with Panarin. Nick Dowd getting the roughing penalty for Jimmy Vesey. Rangers had 2 power play chances in the third period. Couldn't score on either one. In fact, they make the really careless decision to have too many men on the ice. Will Culley has served the penalty. Leads to a Tom Wilson power play goal. And all of a sudden, halfway through the third, in a game the Rangers had control of for the bulk of it, they now only lead 4-3. First time in the last 11 games that Igor Shesterkin's allowed more than 2 goals in a playoff game at Madison Square Garden. But as Sean McDonough pointed out on ESPN, is the first time that Shesterkin has actually never allowed more than 3 goals in a playoff game in his career. He's not Henrik Lundqvist yet. Lundqvist at least got to a cup final, but when you keep putting up numbers like that, you're going to keep your team in more games than not. Capitals cut it to 1. They get a lot of time in the offensive zone. Rangers were awful at clearing the puck. They couldn't get it out. At the end of the game, Alex Ovechkin almost has a chance point blank, and you'd wonder if there's a second or 2 on the clock if he finds a way to get that puck pass and tie it. Capitals made it really scary, but the Rangers survived. And now take commanding 2-0 series lead. Now it's going to cause some flashbacks to last year when the Rangers had a commanding 2-0 lead against New Jersey. In fact, they won both games on the road last year and couldn't finish the deal. So I'd understand Ranger fans kind of feeling a little nervous still. But I think the vibe you get from Peter Laviolette's bunch is a different team. It's a team that doesn't care about last year. has put last year in the rearview mirror. And it's kind of a contrast in styles. You saw the third and fourth lines deliver in game one, fourth line more so. Tonight, the third line with Cully and Alex Wenberg and Capocacco actually gave them some good energy over the course of the latter two periods for the end of those stretches. They were able to at least get some good offensive zone time, provide good opportunities on the forecheck, and doing the things that the Rangers need to do to keep the pressure on. But you had the secondary guys deliver in game one, with the exception of Panarin and Kreider getting the goals on the top line. And then tonight it was the top two lines for the Rangers who had 3 goals, 5 assists. Mika Zibanejad has had an assist in 8 straight games dating back to the end of the regular season. You have a case in which the Rangers were getting contributions from all over. Zibanejad, like I said, the goal and 2 an assist. Trocheck a goal and an assist. K'Andre Miller does a good job on that defensive pairing. And this is a team that right now looks as complete as it's been in a long time in New York. And I think Ranger fans are so used to the team winning game one, getting off to a great start, and then falling flat in game two. Falling flat with a chance to go up 0-2 in the series, with a chance to go up 2-0 in the series, which is the last thing they want to do. They haven't done that yet. And now they'll get 2 days off to kind of rest, refresh. Game 3 is in Washington, Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern. You can catch the game on TNT or True TV. Should be a good one. And Washington's going to come out desperate. But right now, when you look at the Capitals, they're not. The big story is Alexander Ovechkin, who has been a thorn in the side in the Rangers for years. And so far, he's had 1 shot on goal in 2 games. And you had Spencer Carberry basically said, Ovechkin, I'm going to paraphrase, or actually I'll pull up the quote for you guys. He looks a little bit off. He's struggling. That's from Vince Mercogliano from SNY. And you got to wonder, again, you look at this team, can they find a way to keep Ovechkin in check? They've done that through 2 games. Now, when you go to Washington, it's going to be a little bit tougher. And I can't see Ovechkin being this down the entire time. Is he the Alex Ovechkin of old? No. Clearly. Seems to be on his last legs. But you got to think he's going to at least make some kind of impact in this series. But I think the Rangers also look at the other side and see Carolina up 2-0. Right now, those 2 teams would play each other in round 2, and I think would be an absolute classic series. 2 of the top 3 teams in the power play. 2 of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference playing for a trip to the conference final when normally you would think it's a chance to go to the Stanley Cup final with the way those 2 teams have played this year. But the Rangers are keeping their foot in the pedal. And it's an absolute good sign to see. So Peter Laviolette, you give him a lot of credit. That top line, Kreider, Zibanejad, and Rosberg doing their thing. I love the second line. Trocheck, Panarin, and Lafreniere have been outstanding this year. It's really been the flow of the team, I think, in a lot of ways. But the Rangers are doing a good job getting pressure on Charlie Lindgren, making him work. Lindgren, in fact, almost made a big mistake in his own net that would have gave the Rangers a 5th goal. So when you got a team scoring 8 goals in 2 games and scoring in a variety of different ways, they're clicking right now. And they're showing why they're the President's Trophy winners. Rangers seal the deal in Game 2, and you can seal the deal with Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations. You're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps to your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. Follow on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps or on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. So as we talk Rangers, well, we got to talk Islanders. And a big missed opportunity for this team on Monday. And really a game that kind of gets lost in the shuffle with what the Knicks did. But you look at the Islanders who had absolutely barely any shots through the first 12 minutes of the game. And they go out and get 2 quick goals. Kyle Palmieri and Bo Horvat to go up 2-0. Palmieri scored on the 3rd shot of the game for the Islanders 16 minutes in. But you got to feel great. You're up 2-0. Early in the second, Anders Lee gets the goal on the power play. Pajot, who's back in the lineup, gets the assist along with Pierre Engvall. So 3-0. You're in good shape. Anytime in the NHL you're up 3-0 midway through the second, you're looking good. But then Carolina strikes. Power play goal from Teravainen. 7 minutes in, makes it 3-1. Or 13 minutes in, makes it 3-1. Then the third period. Seth Jarvis scores about halfway through. 7 minutes later, Sebastian Aho ties the game. Then 9 seconds later, Jordan Martinook gives him the go-ahead goal, and Jake Gensel adds an empty netter late. 5 unanswered goals for a Hurricane team that is that lethal offensively. But in the last 2 periods, the Islanders get outshot 29-5. 29-5. For the game, 39-12. So when you take those numbers, you would think that Carolina was the one up 3-0. The game completely is a contrast in styles. You had the misconduct penalties late in the game. Islanders clearly are frustrated. Anders Lee, going off what he said after the game the other night, they know they let one slip away. And it feeds into just a theme of missed opportunities for the Islanders, who were tied going to the third in game 1. Had to feel the optimism that they're hanging with a really tough team, a team that gave them trouble last year. And now you wonder where this team's psyche is at. But what the Hurricanes have done is expose the Islanders' warts. We know they can't hold leads. We know they struggle in the second and third periods of games. Doesn't matter who the coach is. It's the same themes repeating itself. And what we're going to find out Thursday, it's not if Carolina is going to win the series. I think Carolina was going to win it anyway. But can the Islanders respond with a clean 60-minute game? Now, I think it helps them, and you could argue the other way, that it hurts them that they have to wait 2 days to play. You probably would want to get back there and kind of get that bad taste out of your mouth. But to reflect, to get to go back home, maybe you push the issue in the first period, push Frederick Anderson a bit. Carolina is a pretty good road team. It's not like the Hurricanes of a couple of years ago that couldn't win on the road. I think the Islanders are going to respond. Now, the question's going to be, what do you do in net? Varlamov took the Islanders here. But is it Ilya Sorokin time? It may not be. It's probably not Varlamov's fault. He wasn't awful in game 1. He was, I would think, standing on his head pretty well the first period and a half. But do you make a change just to switch up the vibe of the locker room? Do you make a change just to be different? You're down 2-0, sometimes you don't have a choice. Because while it's been done in the NHL, you don't want to go behind a 3-0. You may get lucky and get the gentleman's sweep, but 3-0 usually means your season's most likely going to end. And they have to come out playing well. Now, Matt Barzal, I think, has to find a way to get the puck in the net in Game 3. That's your top guy. Got to find a way to score. So, great opportunities for the Rangers. They took advantage of every opportunity they had. Kind of let Washington back in it. But, again, 2 wins that you expected. 2 wins for a team that made things look easy at times. And meanwhile, the Islanders, not expected to win both games in Carolina, but you wanted to split. You played well enough in Game 1 to have a shot at it. And you had to feel good up 3-0 halfway through Game 2. But sometimes the playoffs expose what you have. And we know the Islanders have them. And they ultimately paid the price for it. I want to remind you that this show, along with the other shows on IE Sports Radio, is brought to you by Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Plant Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. So we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk Knicks. For a team that looked like they were going to go to Philadelphia tied at 1, and their MVP with 2 dud games. Well, they're up 2-0. With some controversy brewed in. Does it make sense? No. But that really, this Knicks season hasn't made sense in a good way. We'll talk more about it next. Here on New York State of Sports on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Danya Vodovoz.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
And I'm sure they had a lot to talk about the last 2-minute report on their show on Tuesday. Welcome back, Ricky Keeler here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. I want to remind you, for the last 9+ years, closing in on 10-year anniversary, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports leagues around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the cool merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio direct feed for all that is sports. So the Knicks somehow steal Game 2, 104-101. Sixer fans would probably tell you that the Knicks did steal Game 2 because they felt robbed. Are they valid to feel that way? Probably. Of course, everybody knows now the crazy scene from Monday night. Knicks are down 5, 40 seconds to go. In a game they probably had no business winning. A game that they led by 7 with 9 minutes to go. Looked like the Knicks were going to cruise in this fourth quarter to a win. They let Philly back in it. Jalen Brunson, who's, let's be honest, has been terrible first 2 games of this series. 8 for 26 in game 1, 8 for 29 in game 2. Not rarely at times is struggling to hit anything. Gets a lucky bounce off the rim. 5-point deficit becomes 2. Philly tries to inbound the ball. Tyrese Maxey can't corral it. Nick Nurse is trying to call timeout. Refs aren't seeing him. Knicks steal the ball. DiVincenzo misses the 3. Isaiah Hartenstein gets the board. Somehow out of the scrum. Gives it Anunoby. Kicks it. DiVincenzo hits the 3. Knicks go up 1. Hartenstein gets a big block. Then on Maxey on the other end. Anunoby hits 2 clutch free throws. And then Joel Embiid misses the 3 at the buzzer when I don't know why the Knicks didn't foul. What's the old age mantra in basketball? You're up 3 late, you foul. Make Philly go to the line. Eat some time off the clock. You can't give Embiid that look. They got lucky. So the NBA on Tuesday came out with their last 2-minute report. And it said that Tyrese Maxey was fouled multiple times and that Nick Nurse should have got a timeout called. Now, the last 2-minute report, some would argue, does absolutely nothing. And it doesn't. Because what is the NBA going to do? Rescind the result? It's a way to provide transparency, especially in the day and age of gambling and all these things. But what does it do? It doesn't really do much. And then Tim Bontemps from ESPN reported late Monday night the Sixers had filed a grievance, not off that call, off a non-call, both games. That's where I beg to differ. And that to me means that the game is in Philly's head right now. I went back and looked at the fouls in both games. Game 1 and 2, Philly had 21 fouls each game. Knicks had 17 in one of them and 18 in the other. And basically, the referees in both games have called fouls pretty much even on both sides. Where's the grievance? It's not like you have a team that's getting 50 free throws and another team that gets 20. Like, then I would say, okay, you could talk protest and grievance and things all you want. You talk about a Knicks team that has been known with Julius Randle to yap to the officials. You watch Philly, they're yapping to the officials all the time. But I digress. Sixers have nobody. The Knicks really don't have to justify saying, oh, well, you guys got lucky. You look at this Knicks team, and that kind of win shows the grit they've had all year. That kind of win shows why they won 50 games in the regular season and why they're the number 2 seed. And you think back in this game, Philly's controlling the game in the first half. They're finding a way to get it done. Looks like but Sixers never got, I think, a lead bigger than 10. And Josh Hart was absolutely clutch in the first half. 19 points, 8 rebounds. He was making the key passes, hitting threes. Again, that strategy that Nick Nurse had of letting Josh Hart shoot threes, it kind of worked in the second half, but didn't help him in the first half. But the problem for the Knicks is outside of Hart and DiVincenzo in the first quarter, they shot 2 for 13. Nobody else was getting going. And then things changed. Isaiah Hartenstein, who got in foul trouble in the first half, gets 14 points in the second half. 8 boards, 4 assists. DiVincenzo, we mentioned, 19 points, hits 4 threes. Bogdanovich, who couldn't hit a 3 in the first half, gets 2 big ones in the second half. And you love a guy like Miles McBride. There was a play in the fourth quarter where McBride is flat out takes the ball from Maxey and lays it in with like a football kind of corral. Didn't have the same shooting game as he did in game 1. He was 4 for 11, didn't make a 3. But he does the little things well. And Anunoby takes 10 shots, gets 10 points. The one thing you're seeing in these first 2 games is the Knicks' depth is better than the Sixers' bench. The Sixers' bench is terrible. They were a little better in game 2, but 10 points. Nick Batum hits 2 threes. He has been the guy from the play-in game against Miami. Paul Reed, who had a lot to yap about before the series, 2 points. Buddy Hield has taken 5 shots in 2 games. For a guy they acquired the trade deadline to shoot the 3, he hasn't done any of that. And I think what makes these first 2 games semi-frustrating for Knicks fans, even though they're up 2-0, and I don't think they're frustrated by any means, is you're essentially playing 5-on-2. It feels like that at times, because you look at that fourth quarter and that comeback was mainly Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, who combined to score 69 of the 101 points. Maxey hit the clutch 3 to put him up 4. He had 196, 34 points, 10 boards, 6 dimes. For Embiid, for Maxey, 35 points, 9 boards, 10 assists. Joel Embiid, at time, you wonder if he had 2 good, wasn't battling the injury, he could go for 50, 60 points. He was hitting threes, hitting shots from the free throw line. He was bad in terms of jump shots. He was bad from the free throw line. At one point, he was making 2 out of 6. He got better as the game went on. But the Sixers have no way to blame it themselves. Kyle Lowry missed a big free throw that would have put him up 6. If Kyle Lowry hits both free throws with less than 50 seconds left, we're not talking about that last play. So where's that? A Sixer team that went 16 for 22 from the line. Knicks went 19 for 23. So again, you want to talk about fouls, both teams had almost the exact same amount of free throw attempts in the game. Where's the argument? There's none there. Now, I will say, Maxey and Embiid have been fantastic in the 2 games. And what you want to see from the Knicks going forward, I want to see more physical play against Embiid. Hardenstein has tried that. He's been in foul trouble each of the first 2 games. Mitchell Robinson's been fantastic in terms of his defense. You wonder where Precious Achiuwa is. I think he could provide some valuable minutes, but the Knicks have stuck with that 8-man rotation. Would love to see it get to 9. That would be a fun experience. But right now, it doesn't seem any minutes for Achiuwa. But you can't let Embiid get those baskets. And when you're the Knicks, it seemed like they struggled to finish transition layups. They were letting Philly strip the ball, and they're not going right at the Sixers. You look at a guy like Brunson, who the Sixers are doing a great job with their zone, defending him from getting those floaters in the lane. But what Brunson is doing is not going to the basket. He's fading away. And there were times in the second half where Brunson's shot wasn't there, and he was comfortable passing and making that extra play to help his teammates. And then at times it looks like he's trying to force the issue. You can tell he's frustrated right now. You can tell he's trying to figure out what's going on, but at the same time, he's a player that knows if the Knicks are getting the win, he's happy. And if you told any Knicks fan that Jalen Brunson, although he did have 24 points, and he's had, 50 points in the first 2 games, that Brunson could shoot this poorly and the Knicks would be up 2-0, you would think they're crazy. That's the difference between this year and the years past. Remember when the Knicks were losing Julius Randle in some big playoff series and they just could never recover? Or Randle would have a bad series and they couldn't recover. They're not a one-man show. And from a national audience that may think they're a one-man show, they're wrong. This is a team that, really, when you look up the word teamwork in the dictionary, the Knicks epitomize that. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to sweep the Sixers. I don't believe that at all. I had the Knicks in 6 when the series began. I'm kind of going to stick with that here. The big question, I think, to ask is Brunson going to continue to play this poorly? Is he going to have a game of his own like the Deuce McBride game in Game 1? Or I would argue Game 2 for the first half was the Josh Hart show. Second half, I would probably say the Hartenstein / DiVincenzo time. So when is Jalen Brunson's time to take over? You would think he's due. And the other side, if you're Philly, can Tyrese Maxey average 35 a game? Because that's the only way they're staying in this. They're not getting much from Tobias Harris, though he did more in Game 2. Had 10 points. Kyle Lowry can hit a clutch shot or 2, but again, he's limited to what he can perform. And Kelly Oubre hasn't only took 7 shots in Game 2 at 4 points. Who is that third scorer that's going to lift Philly's offense to another level than what it's already at? And the Sixers doing their thing because their stars are playing like stars. You could say Philly stars have outplayed New York's top guys. But the Knicks team, and the emphasis on team, is better than what Philly is right now. And you could argue Tom Thibodeau has outcoached Nick Nurse in some sense in this series. Because the Sixers, in a way, caught a break. If you go back to the late first quarter, when Embiid got a review where it could have been an unsportsmanlike technical, remember he picks up a technical later in the second quarter, he would have been out of the game. I doubt, though, if Embiid got that first technical, that he would have got the second one so quickly. But you could go back to that. And it makes you still wonder. I think the Knicks, in a way, still are trying to see, is Joel Embiid going to be fully healthy during this series? Probably not. But it's going to be tough. They're basically, I think, what, a 5-point underdog going into Thursday. Game you can catch on TNT. I believe it's 7 o'clock. 7:30. 7:30 on TNT. Philly favorite right now. I'm looking at ESPN bet by 4.5. But what is Jalen Brunson going to take us to a new gear? This doesn't mean that the Knicks winning these last two doesn't mean they're going to win the championship. Doesn't mean they're going to make it to the conference final. What it does mean is you look at this team and handling business. Handling business with I would say their B- game. They've won both games, but they haven't really looked convincingly at all doing it. They caught a break late third quarter, and Embiid hits the bench because of all the minutes. That's where the Knicks are able to at least get more aggressive drive to the basket. They've got, when Embiid's out of the game, and where I thought the Knicks were going to lose that game on Monday, is they didn't get the lead big enough by the time he came back. I thought at that point in the game, the Knicks had to get up by at least 8 to 10 points to feel comfortable. And I think they got it to like 5 or 6. But you know Embiid's going to hit shots. You know Maxi's going to hit shots. And I think you'd want to see the defense put more tight pressure. But is that the strategy from Thibodeau? Let those two get their baskets and continue to shut down the secondary guys. It's possible. But when you look at that finish, it's probably a top 3 finish in definitely Knicks' recent memory. I would say of the last 30 years. You get the Mike Breen double bang if you're watching at an MSG like I was. And it's one of those were you there moments. A lot of celebrities were there, of course, because it's Madison Square Garden, but it's a finish that seemed improbable. And it's a finish that really defines, I think, what this Knicks team is about. Not quitting. Even though the odds looked against them, I was listening to Michael Kay show on Tuesday, and the Knicks at one point had a net with about less than a minute to go, had 4% chance to win the game. They don't care. And they're motivated. They're motivated to prove the national audience wrong. You saw the tweets from Josh Hart about how Tom Thibodeau wasn't a Coach of the Year finalist. Now, I think there were 3 good candidates. You had the Thunder coach with the top seed in the West, Timberwolves coach, they're now 2-0 on Phoenix, and the Orlando Magic coach. Nobody thought Orlando would finish 5th in the East. But you can understand why people still feel Thibodeau gets slighted. Because people don't believe, and I think rightfully so, that his coaching style with not resting guys and playing people in blowouts and all these things can't win a championship. Maybe it can't. But does that matter right now? I think Knicks fans, this is really the most excited a lot of you guys have been in a long time. And I would say just enjoy it. It's been a long time since the city felt like this. I mentioned at the top of the show. Probably since 94. You could get excited about the way both your local teams are performing. And the Garden getting 4 home wins in 1 week. That's special. Monday night was special. And it really shows how under the radar at times Dante DiVincenzo's been. He's probably a top 3 signing this offseason in the NBA. Because he just continues to, and he hits those threes, and he does a great job. And you heard his interview with Rebecca Harley. It's like, just enjoy the crowd. He's a guy that doesn't get too high or too low. Has the right mentality. Now, should the Knicks advance, and we got a long way to go still to get to that. Indiana and Milwaukee are tied 1 game apiece. Pacers blew out Milwaukee in game 2. Being I believe they're the first road team to win a playoff game in the NBA this year. Home teams have dominated. But the Knicks, I think, have a chance to go on a deep run here. You can't count out Philly. Wouldn't shock me if they win game 3. And we'll preview that more on Thursday. But keep in mind, the Knicks did win both games in Philly this year. One of them was with Joel Embiid on the floor. It's hard for me to look at that and not think the Knicks will at least win one of these next 2, either Thursday or Sunday at 1 o'clock on ABC. I think they will find a way to get at least one. What that game is, I'm not sure yet. But I think this series eventually goes back to the Garden, 3-1, with the Knicks having a chance to close home court. I say 6 because I wouldn't shock me if Philly were to win both, just because Embiid and Maxey have been that good. But Jalen Brunson's due. And I put a post out on X right before that shot by Brunson and said these last 2 games have been unacceptable for a superstar. Everybody loves Jalen Brunson, and rightfully so. MVP of the team, not a top 3 finalist for MVP. He's probably going to get some votes, you would think. But we should, in New York, people hold their athletes to a higher standard. And Jalen Brunson has to be put on that standard. He's earned it. I'm not saying boo him vociferously at the Garden, no. But if they lost that game on Monday night, Jalen Brunson deserved every criticism over those next 2 days. Because he has to go out there and make a statement. Will he do that on Thursday? We're going to find out. But at least the team picked up the slack for him. And that's a good sign. That's how you make long playoff runs. When you have guys that come out of nowhere and steal a game for you. Give you an example of the Rangers, like we just talked about. 4th line stole game 1. Not stole it, but dominated game 1. Then the top line, 3 goals and 5 assists in their top 2 lines in game 2. Different ways to win games. And both those teams have done that. So again, here's our upcoming shows. We're going to at least finally take a break from post-game shows for a little bit. At least for one day. Thursday, 2 p.m., the regular live show. We'll talk more of the Knicks, Islanders, Rangers as they get set for their game 3s. We'll do one more Giants-Jets mock draft. We'll do a combo one for 3 rounds. We'll talk Yankees. We'll talk Mets. We'll talk Red Bulls, NYCFC, all those fun things. And then late Thursday night, early Friday morning, you'll get another show recapping the Knicks and Islanders game 3s and the first round of the draft. Most likely there's going to be no show on Friday. I have other things going on. It's probably going to prevent me from Rangers game 3 show. I'll try to get you guys that, but I can't promise it. So if you look at the schedule after that, I believe the Islanders play game 3 on Saturday. Or game 4 on Saturday. They do. They play game 4 Saturday at 2. We'll have to see what that series is like. If the Islanders do split it, maybe you get a show Saturday, and then you get the Knicks and Rangers Sunday. So if you don't get a show after Thursday, a special one, your next best bet would probably be Sunday. Of course, follow the show at NY State Sports IE. I'll keep filling you in on when we'll do one. We're going to try to get a special guest in the show. We did try to do one with Davis and Crooks from Fast Break a couple nights ago. Technical difficulties prevented that one from happening. And hopefully we'll get some more people from the network on over the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to doing more of these for you guys. I love doing them. It's really been a treat. And again, if you feel so inclined, please join the supporters network. Be very happy to see that. But again, you guys put your time in, and I appreciate the listens. So a fun time in New York. Knicks up 2-0. Rangers up 2-0. Islanders searching for answers. Or at least they're heading home. But home cooking has been fun in New York City. It's a city that never sleeps, and right now the sports teams aren't sleeping. They're finding ways to get it done. Thanks again for tuning in. I will see you Thursday at 2 p.m. for the NFL Draft preview. Knicks Game 3, Islanders Game 3, Rangers Game 3. So much we got to talk about. But that's what's great about being in New York. So until then, enjoy the rest of your day. This is Ricky Keeler from IA Sports Radio Direct Feed for all those sports fans. See you next time.